Hey everybody, welcome to the Cottagecore Mystery Mosaic Blanket Crochet Along. My name is Tasha and I'm hosting the Crochet Along. I want to say thank you to everybody for being here and welcome. And today I'm going to teach you how to do a simple mosaic crochet chart so that you can learn how to do mosaic before. If you're brand new, then you're going to learn all the fun, cool tips and tricks of mosaic crochet. So you can see this is something that I've already started for the pattern. I'm using parchment as my main color, and then I'm cycling through various colors for each strip, and I might even do some fun color play throughout the strips. So today's tutorial is going to be about how to read a chart, a mosaic crochet chart, and then how to do overlay mosaic crochet. So the first thing you're going to need is a 4mm crochet hook, some scissors, and I recommend getting some stitch markers for your very first row of your mosaic crochet pattern, because what's a really good tip when you do, 200 chains or foundation single crochet chains, you're going to want to mark about every 20 stitches, and then it's so much easier to count. So you just double check your count and go back through. So when you first do your first foundation, like say you do 25, mark the 20th stitch, and then so on, and keep going through, because it just makes life so much easier, because then you could just count by twos and be like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, or 2 for, yeah, then you got 243 stitches for your starting on the 5 repeat. Now all the repeats and the starting chains and the foundations, that's all in the pattern. It's on my blog for free, and also in our crochet book, the ebook. It's the Cottagecore ebook, and it's really awesome. I'll put a little graphic around here somewhere. So let's get started. Let's jump right in. Oh, first let's go over the colors. So the colors I chose for this crochet along, this one is called Yarnsmiths Create, and they were generous enough to send us this yarn to work with, and I'm so excited because this is a brand new yarn to me, and I'm just tickled pink with this. It's a DK weight. It's super soft. It's 100 grams, 3.5 ounces, 290 meters, 317 yards, and it's 100% acrylic. And I really, really love it. It says 100% in accordance with BS 984, made in Turkey under license for Wool Warehouse. So it's made just for them, and it's in accordance with all environmental laws, which is really nice. So the colorways, this is called Deep Ocean. It's shade number 3236. You can find all this information on the blog as well, all the color numbers and how many skeins you'll need for both the one-sided blanket and the reversible. And let me explain a little bit about one-sided and reversible mosaic crochet. So one-sided, this is one-sided. I'm doing the blanket in a one-sided mosaic. This is what the back side of a one-sided mosaic looks like. So you're just working on one side of the project, and let me show you. This is our very first pattern of the blanket, and this will be released today. I'm so excited about that. I'm going to use this as a hot pad because I just really think it's so cute. This is what the back side looks like for one-sided mosaic. So you'll see it has a bunch of lines across it. And I left this like this to show you a little trick on how to anchor your stitches when you're working mosaic. So these are all anchored stitches, and you can see that there's no flap on it, but you can see when you get down here, oh, what's that? So if I hadn't have anchored all these stitches, then I would have a bunch of flaps like that going across. But I just wanted to give you some contrast and show you there's a simple step you can take to just anchor your stitch. So this is one-sided mosaic, and this is double-sided mosaic crochet reversible. It's really thick compared to the one-sided. This is a great way to do it, but you're going to need more yarn. So there's a reversible mosaic crochet yarn pack for the Cottagecore blanket. And this is what it looks like on the other side, which is super cool. So I'll be doing a reversible mosaic crochet tutorial as well. Or I might just link my friend Nikki's in there because she does a really good job of explaining it. And that's where I learned how to do mine. And not pretty. So it basically creates a mirror image and you're working on both sides at the same time. It might sound confusing, but it's actually easier than you think. It just does give a little bit more time. And in this series, our Cottagecore Blanket Mystery Cow, you'll also learn how to do a envelope border. That's what this pretty border is that encases all of the tails. So when you do mosaic crochet, you end up with a whole bunch of tails on the end. There's so many creative ways you can fix that. You can create little knots. You can do tassels. Some people do double tassels where you'll tie a knot and then move over and tie a knot so it kind of looks like a little diamond pattern. You can enclose them into the envelope border, and that's what I really think gives a really finished look, super finished look to everything. So let's get started on how to do overlay mosaic crochet. We're going to be doing the one-sided version of this little pattern. It's going to be very easy, and I hope you guys really enjoy this tutorial and learn something new. I just realized I didn't quite finish the colorways. Okay, so the first color I'm using is called Deep Ocean 3236. The second color I'm using is called Petrol. The third I'm using is called Steel Blue. This one is called Rust. I really love this color. And I really love this one too. This one is called Latte. And this one is Stone Gray, which is kind of like a cool gray. I kind of went, oh, it's actually a little bit of a warm gray. Then this one is called Parchment, and this is going to be my main color. I wanted to use a muted color for my main color because I didn't want it to be too bright. And you can see that it has kind of a grayish tint to it, the Parchment, but it's really nice in contrast with these colors, and I think it'll do great. Even with the Stone Gray, I still think it'll give good contrast, but the idea I had was to create an ombre style blanket. So the gray version, the gray plus the Parchment is going to be a little bit similar, but I still think it'll give a really neat effect. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start off with teaching you how to read the mosaic crochet chart. So the chart is done in blocks of columns and rows. So your columns are listed here and your rows go across horizontally. And the rows and the columns are both numbered. So the numbers on the bottom represent the number of stitches, and the numbers on the side represent the number of rows. So this pattern has 9 stitches and 11 rows. So it's 9 by 11. The A and the B represent the color changes. So with mosaic crochet, overlay, and other types of mosaic, you usually change colors for each row, not for each, that's what creates the color changes are the drop down double crochets because it overlays the color that's underneath it. And that's why it's called overlay mosaic crochet. And there's other types of overlay crochet. You can do overlay crochet for mandalas like Tatiana does for Lila Bourgeois crochet, which is what I first started with really getting into overlay mosaic crochet about 7 years ago when I first started, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. But of course, I really love to learn new things, so I'm always changing it up. Okay, let's go over the symbols. So the symbols are A and B. Those are your colors. And the first column here is actually your beginning. It's called a beginning border stitch, and it's just basically a single crochet. And then the plus signs are the ending border stitch, which is also basically a single crochet. Super easy. So the stitches and the symbols, the blank or empty squares, each one of those is going to be either a single crochet for your first row, and then subsequently after that, they're going to be back loop only single crochets. So like these are all blanks. So this is my foundation row or my first row of single crochets. The second row you work into the back loop only, and those are all blank. So I'm going to work all back loop only single crochets. This third row, I'm going to do my beginning stitch, and then I'm going to work my back loop only single crochets and then do my ending stitch, which we do through both loops and or the center of the stitch. Going through the center of the stitch creates a much more secure fabric and tails. So the fourth row, that's where we start to do our color changes. So in each row, we're changing from color A to B to A to B, cutting it at the end of each. So you'll see that you're working always on the right side. And so you attach your yarn at the beginning, you work across your entire pattern, and then once you finish your last ending stitch, then you're going to just kind of leave a long tail and cut it. And that's it. And you just, it's like a typewriter. I know you probably don't know what that is because, well, some of you, most of you will, but typewriters did that where you push the return key and it would go right back to the beginning. And so that's what you want to do with this. So the X's represent the front loop only double crochets, or they're also known as drop down double crochets. So what you do is when you work the stitch, you're going to work your stitch into the front loop only of the stitch, the row from 2 down. So you're going to go down here, and so you can see, even though underneath this right here, I'm going to put it right there. So underneath that row is, oops, I accidentally marked it. Underneath that row is just all the one color of A. So it kind of looks confusing at first, just because that whole row will be white. But once you drop down, then it covers up the white and creates the pattern. So like, for instance, right here, you can see right here on this, the owl pattern, when you're working it, you'll see that it looks like stripes. On the next row, it's going to drop down. It's going to be worked in white, and then it's going to drop down over that blue to create the center line. All right, let's get to it. So in order to start, you're going to need yarn, your hook, scissors, of course, and we're going to work this pattern. I'm going to put it right here so you can see it while we work. I'm going to create a foundation single crochet because I like to do those. You can also chain the number of stitches you have plus 1, and then you can turn it and work your stitches. But this is how to do a foundation single crochet. You create a slip knot, then you're going to chain 2. You're going to work your hook into the very first chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through the very first loop. Grab onto the bottom 2 of what you just created with your thumb and your middle finger, then yarn over and pull through both. So that's one single crochet, but it's called a foundation single crochet. To do the next one, you're going to work into the bottom like this of the 2 that you were holding on to, the 2 little loops or strands. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through the first one only. Grab onto those 2 bottom loops, yarn over and pull through both. So now I've created 2 foundation single crochets. Go back through the center or the 2 loops that you just were holding on to, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through the first one, grab onto those little guys, yarn over and pull through both. So now I've created 3. Since I'm using a foundation single crochet, I'm only going to create 9. It looks super huge on the chart, but this is going to be a really, really tiny swatch. But I'm not going to work the whole thing. I'm just going to work through what you need to learn for this tutorial and to get you started on creating your first overlay mosaic crochet pattern. So how many do we have so far? We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, and I only need 1 more. It is the tiniest swatch known to man. Okay, so I accidentally let go of my loops. I'm going to have to pull this back. If you let go of your loops, sometimes you lose them and it's really hard to find them again, those bottom 2 loops. So when I do that, I just undo it and start my other stitch fresh. And now my top loop is too loose, so okay, there we go. And another thing about mosaic crochet is if you work too many, it's okay. Fixing mistakes with mosaic crochet is super easy. So now I'm going to count my stitches. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. I have one extra. So once you get to the end, you want to do a chain and then just come over and cut your yarn and pull it through, and then just kind of tighten the end just a little bit. And there we have our first row. Now we're going to grab our contrasting color, and to start you're going to put it through this. I'm going to put mine through the center of this first little stitch that we have here. Add your yarn, pull through, chain 1, and then work a single crochet back through that first stitch. And so as you can see on the chart here, we're just going to do back loop only single crochets through this entire row. So the back loop, you know, there's a front loop here and a back loop there. You're going to go straight through that back loop. So I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're going to be working 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches, and then your end stitch. And I'm going to go pull this a lot with my hook. I'm going to hook it, go through the side, and then do my single crochet for my ending stitch. I'm going to chain 1, turn it over and cut it and pull it through. That's so easy, right? So the next one we're going to do is row 3, and that is in color A, and it also is just a straight row of just single crochets. So grab your other contrasting yarn, and I'm going to go through, I'm going to go through the center V's of that beginning stitch, pull through, chain 1, and single crochet in that first stitch. And now just single crochet all the way across like we did before in the back loop only. That's why mosaic crochet looks super complicated, but it is not. It's actually easier than any color change type of crochet I've ever done. It's somewhat addicting as well. So once we get there, it's a little hard for me to see this right now, but I'm going to go straight through, or at least as best I can go through, do my ending border stitch, and then do a chain 1, and again, just cut it. Super easy. So now you can see you have the tails coming off the end, and we've got 3 of our rows done. So now we're going to do a row that has drop down double crochets, aka front loop only double crochets. To start, I'm going to do the same thing before and kind of go through the center of that beginning border stitch, add my yarn, got a snag, going through the center poses. Okay, there we go. Chain 1, and then work my single crochet back through that beginning border stitch. Now I'm going to do, okay, so that on our chart it shows that we have 2 drop downs, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 back loop only single crochets and 2 drop downs. So what makes this easy is you don't have to think about the color. You only have to think about the symbols. That's it. It can be kind of confusing at first to learn this because of that, because we're so used to seeing a chart and whatever is on the chart is the color. But you have to kind of visualize that you're going to be dropping down and covering up what you just did before. So this is going to be our first drop down double crochet, and you want to work into the front loop, which is visible here. So yarn over, and I go down from the front like this with my hook and I grab the front loop because this is the way that makes it easiest for me. I have seen some people just go straight in from the bottom like this, which is great too, but I really like going like that with the hook because it helps me grab it. And then you just do a double crochet as normal. I'm just going to show you how to do it normal without anchoring it first, and then on these two I'll show you how to anchor. So this is just normal. You're not anchoring anything, you're just doing your front post double crochets. And you're always skipping the stitches back here. So if you get confused and you have a lot of drop downs, you can get off center quite often. So go back here and just make sure that you kind of pull it back and say, okay, these are the two that I'm skipping. I'm doing my next stitch in here. And you can always just follow it up too as well. So now we have 1, 2, 3 back loop only single crochets. And then we're going to anchor these two. So we have the last two are going to be double crochets, drop downs, and I'm going to anchor it. So I'm going to yarn over first for my double crochet, follow this stitch down. I'm going to go through that stitch, and then I'm going to go to the back loop only of the stitch that's on my row just down below. And that's going to help me anchor my stitch. That's how I anchor stitches. And I'm not really sure how other people do it, but I found that's pretty effective. So I'm going to hook my front loop of that 2 rows down, and I'm going to go straight through the back loop of the row just below and just pull through both of those and finish out your double crochet. And the difference of what it does in the back, it just, see right here, there's that little flap you can see, and on this there's no flap. It's just solid. And that just makes it a lot better, because when you have a long piece of work and those flaps are just kind of weird. So anchoring it is my favorite way to do it, really. And now we're going to do our last stitch. And then I'm going to cut it, pull that out, and we're going to do one more row to show you. And if you have any questions about this, please leave it below in the comments and or in our Crochet Along With Us group, where we're going to be answering questions and probably doing live Q&As throughout the whole duration of the Crochet Along. Okay, so I'm going to go through the beginning stitch. I'm going to do my single crochet. Hey! Oops. I'm going to do my single crochet. And now for this row, for that row we have 2 back loop only single crochets, and then it goes into the drop down. So the first 2, which were our double crochets before, we're going to go through and do back loop only single crochets, and then we're going to do a drop down. And so usually, you know, this is our pattern. You can see that there's 1, 2, 3 little open spaces that are visible. We're going to drop down to that similar color that we're on now, and I'm going to anchor this. So I'm going to go through that top part and then finish out my double crochet. And then we skip to a back loop only single crochet, and then we do another drop down. And then after that, we've got 2 back loop only double crochets. I mean, single crochets. Then we do our border stitch. Chain 1. And that's how we do it. You see how easy that is. And you just keep working your chart all the way up, doing that until you get to the very top. And then after that, you finish your work, keep going on the next one, and you can, whoops. And then by the end of it, you will have this cute little owl. Okay, so we're going to talk about the repeats real quick. So when doing the mosaic crochet charts, I'm going to get over to my owl chart. Okay, so this is the owl chart, and you can see I'm on my progress tracker. So you can see that there's red lines on this chart. So when you're doing the blanket, you're going to create the number of foundation or chains that you need. And then you're going to do your beginning border stitch. Then you're going to start your repeat. And we're going to repeat this. I repeated mine 5 times for this blanket that I'm working on. And so you're going to repeat from this red line to that red line after you do that. Then when you get to your very last repeat, so the 5th repeat after you've started over, so once you, it's like a typewriter again, once you go back through, you get to the red line, go straight back to the front, work it through, that's 2 times, and you do it as many times as you want. And then once you're finished and you're like, okay, done, I've got 4 repeats, I've got 5 repeats, then I'm going to work these last 2 stitches. This one is worked just as normal, and then that's worked as your ending border stitch. So that's how you do it, and do the little repeats, or you can just do one like I did for this. Ta-da! I love this owl. He's so cute. Yeah, but you'll see that the pattern doesn't really come to life because you only got part of it, and the other part of this is a leaf, so it looks throughout, it's really pretty. But that's it. That's how you do overlay mosaic crochet, and it's super simple, and I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please leave any questions below. Go over to the blog, stardustgoldcrochet.com, and check out the Cottagecore Mystery Crochet Along. All the patterns will be on that blog post, and then it'll link off to the other designer sites or my site, wherever it's being hosted at the time. Get the Cottagecore ebook. It's so great. We put bunches of helpful information in there, including a picture tutorial on how to do the envelope border. So thank you guys for being here. If you have any questions, let us know. Happy crocheting, friends. Bye. And if you like this video, check out some of my other crochet tutorials. Just click any of those and please subscribe. Thank you so much for being here. Happy crocheting, everybody.